All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to be giving you three main things that every young man should know about money that I learned from other men and also had to teach myself along the way. To give you context, my name's Tommy Buglis. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm 23 years old. I didn't go to college. Well, I'm a college dropout and I have over 6 figures invested slash saved. So I can talk a little bit about it. I'll give you this first off. The first lesson I would say is you have to understand that we live in a different America than we used to, right? So nowadays, things are a lot more expensive. Travel, rent, groceries, gas, everything's more expensive. So you have to understand that first and also understand that income hasn't really changed as inflation and prices and cost of living has gone up. So now more than ever, it's important that you understand the right ways to go about money when you're younger so that you can actually reach your goals of success and lifestyle and money that you want to achieve. Understand that first and take these three lessons that I've learned that have helped me get to where I'm at. And I'm nowhere near my goal. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not financially, literate as like a banker would be or an accountant or anyone like that, but I can give you a grasp on how I've gotten to where I'm at and what I kind of do and what I look at. So number one, the main thing is credit cards. They don't teach you this in economics in high school, and I'm going to tell you this. Credit cards are good for you with the right perspective. I personally haven't used my debit card in probably 3 or 4 years, and I'll tell you this. Credit cards are a great way for you to build your credit. If you haven't bought your first car, if you've never lived on your own apartment, on your own lease, then you have no credit. You need credit cards to build credit. But you have to look at them like this. Credit cards are your money. If your limit is $1,000 a month and you spend $400, you have to have that $400 in your bank account because you have to pay that bill off at the end of the month. Now, what people don't understand is when you're younger, your credit card rates, your APRs are going to be pretty high, 13, 30%. My Amex is like 28% rate on it. What does that mean? That is the point of this video. If you have a bill on your Amex and it's $1,000 at the end of the month, it's $1,000 is your Amex bill and you don't pay it off in full. You just leave it for, you don't pay it because you don't have to. You don't pay it and your APR is 28%. They're going to charge you $280 extra on top of that $1,000. So now your $1,000 payment, it turned into $1,300. That's how people get into debt. That's how people ruin their credit. When you're young, you have to spend it as if you are spending it out of your bank account because you are. Personally, I've never missed a credit card payment on any of my credit cards since I was 18, and I've had 4 of them since then. I have 4 open right now. That is where you will put yourself into debt and dig yourself into a hole. Because if you're not increasing your income, but you're increasing your debt, it's going to be impossible for you to play catch up. You're going to have a month where you just make a lot more money than you normally do to be able to pay off all that debt. And as you get older and start to buy things like a car, rent, whatever, live your life, it gets even harder to overcome that debt. So up front, you need to understand how credit cards work. You now know what APR is and what a rate means on that and how interest will eat you alive. But also understand this, just because you have a higher credit limit doesn't mean you should use it. That doesn't mean you should just go willy-nilly on it, right? So my Amex, goes up to like 100 grand a month. When would I ever spend $100,000 a month? Never, ever, ever, ever will I do that. Maybe in 20 years, but that doesn't mean I should do that, and that doesn't mean you should either. You need to use credit as a way to build your credit. Credit cards to build your credit. That's how you can, number one, get a good credit score, have a strong credit score so you can go buy a house, buy a nice car, do whatever you want, finance whatever you want if you have good credit and proven history. On the other side of that, the way to get good credit and a good credit score is to pay your bill off. And the way to pay your bill off is to pay it in full and not have interest build on you. Once you let interest build on you, you're putting yourself in a hole that's very difficult to get out of. Understand how credit cards work, look into it. It's a great way for you to get ahead in life, earn points, things like that, which I'll do in a different video. But I wanted to really emphasize the APR and how interest can eat you up. That's what banks love. So don't let them win. Number two, spending habits. So a lot of guys I see, a lot of the internet dudes that I'm close with, they make a lot of money, 6 figures a month, but their spending habits are unrealistic. I mean, dude, you can't spend money on just random things if you want to have money and security and grow wealth. You need to have cash to have more cash. Cash is king. It's been saying forever and it will be saying forever. You have to have cash to be able to go into a new business, to go do a flip, to go whatever. You need cash on hand. So you can't just spend willy-nilly. I told this on my Instagram earlier yesterday. Mark Cuban was making millions of dollars and still ate ramen noodles and lived in a small apartment because he understood the leverage that comes with cash. He put all that cash back into his business, didn't over and fluctuate his lifestyle, ended up selling his company for billions of dollars. Now you can do whatever you want, bro. So what he understood that most people at our age don't understand is when you're young, as soon as you get a little bit of money, I'm gonna get the new shoes, I'm gonna get a nice car, I'm gonna get a nice watch, I'm gonna go eat fancy dinners, I'm gonna do all this stuff. While that's good, you can't really do that until you have security financially. Meaning, I would personally say, if you don't have over $30,000, you don't need to do any of that. And I would say more than that. But if you have over 30 grand, sure, go do whatever you want. But I wouldn't recommend it. But when you're in that like $5,000 to $15,000 range, you need to really, really understand, to make this money grow for me and you be able to use it to my advantage to make more money, I need to hold off on the new shoes, hold off on the stuff that my flesh wants, that society thinks I'll be successful if I show them that I have, things like that. Spending habits, what you have today, your spending habits today when you're broke, when you don't have a lot of money, is gonna be exactly what you spend when you have a lot of money. So say you make 8K a month, but you spend 6 of it. One day, if you end up making 100K a month, you're gonna spend 60 of it. Like, that's not good. You need to be able to live a lifestyle that matches what you value. And if you value security and growing your wealth, then you need to value that, not the new shoes, going shopping, the expensive dinners, the new car, all that stuff. That stuff will come. That stuff will come. It is inevitable that you won't get it. I promise you'll get it. But you have to put it off to be able to stack money for some time. I'll give you a story. 2024, I started making a lot of money for the first time in my life. I was 21, and instead of buying everything off rip, I lived at home. I bought groceries. I would eat, I didn't really eat out. That's a big one. A lot of you guys eat out. I didn't eat out that much. I didn't have a nice car. My car was paid off. I didn't go shopping. I pretty much for 6 to 7 months just stacked every penny that I had. And that eventually built my wealth. Like, I was able to, get 6 figures in the bank from that. But on the opposite of that, I could have immediately, when I had 50K, been like, ooh, Rolex, ooh, nice car, boom, boom, boom. Now I'm down to 15K. Now I have payments on the car. Now I have payments on this. And now, no matter that I'm making the same money, I have all these things to pay for it. Now I don't save as much money and I can't invest as much money. What your spending habits are will dictate how much money and security you can have to play with and invest with down the road. Make sure your spending habits match your goal. If your goal is to just drive a nice car and live the lifestyle, then sure, spend it. But if your goal is to really build wealth and have security and get what you really want out of life in the long run, then you have to dumb it down for a while, especially in the beginning. That's the second lesson. Number 3, and this is a big one that I've done my own research on. Someone helped me out at the beginning, but you never want to use the bank to store your money, right? So mutual funds, CDs, and money market accounts. These are all bank accounts that are transferable back to you almost immediately. Maybe it'll be 3 to 5 days on some of them, but mutual funds. You put your money here. You can either have a high risk mutual fund where you have an investor that will basically say, okay, I put 40 grand in here, Mr. Investor. I want you to invest in certain stocks, certain businesses that you think are going to go up in value so you can grow my money for me. Or you can have low risk mutual funds where you're like, okay, I want you to just play the safe game, invest in Delta, Coca-Cola, stuff like that is just going to go up in value, Apple. But the returns won't be as much, but at least your money is growing for you while it's sitting somewhere. When you just make money and throw it in the savings of your bank account, it's not getting any interest on you. Interest can be a bad thing on credit cards, but on these accounts, it can be a good thing. When you put it in the bank, you put it in your Chase savings account. If you put 10 grand in there, in 3 months, it's going to be 10 grand. If you put 10 grand in a money market, it's going to have an interest recurring on it, and you're going to make money on that money. You're going to look up in 3 months and be like, oh, my 10 grand is now 12 grand. Boom, I just made 2,000 doing nothing. My money's just sitting there making money. The long run of this, the way it converts is depending on the rate you get with each account. Not talking about mutual funds because that's an investor that's doing that for you, someone that's kind of investing your money. But let's talk about like CDs and money markets. I have those. If I had like $1 million in mine right now, I'd make like 6 to 8 grand a month passively on it. So that's like this million is just sitting there making me 8 grand every month. That 8 grand is going to come through every single month for the rest of my life if I just let that million sit there. That's how you make a lot of money. That's how you live a lavish lifestyle. That's how you have security, because you actually put your money somewhere where it's working for you. I learned this from my GM when I first sold cars when I was 18. He was like, bro, just put your money in there. Have, your set money that you're going to pay bills with right here, and, pay that from your bank account. Then have your savings, quote unquote, in these accounts. So it's growing for you. Like the other month, one of mine made like $1,450, and it covered one of my credit card bills. It was like, dang, like I didn't even pay that credit card bill technically, because my money that was just sitting there grew enough interest over that month to just pay it in full. So it's like I lived for free that month on that said credit card. All those expenses were in a way free. That's how you can keep making, that's how you keep your income where you can invest it. Because now I'm not just paying for my lifestyle out of my income. Now I'm paying it from interest on my money market, on my CD. So those are 3 things that you kind of need, I would say. Even if you're 18, bro, if you have $5,000 and you have no expenses, you don't have to pay for anything, you need to put like 4,000 of that in one of those accounts. Some of those accounts require more money, but you need to have your money somewhere where it's growing for you. The old way of like, let me just save it, save won't help you anymore. Back to what I said at the beginning, you have to have your money growing for you. If it's going to sit somewhere, let it sit somewhere where it's going to grow.